Respect, would you think that this war could be averted?
We tried to avert it. I know people say, oh, George Bush likes to use the military. That's the hardest thing for a president to do, is to put soldiers in harm's way, because I knew what would happen. And, you know, that's, of course, manifested when I meet with mothers of fallen soldiers or wives or husbands. And it is incredibly sad, as I'm sure you can imagine, very emotional, to hug and to cry with families. And I met with a lot of families, a lot. So I knew the consequences. I really did. And I was hoping that through diplomatic pressure, that we would be able to resolve this issue peacefully. And I remember, you can't take this Iraq out of the post-9/11 context. We'd been attacked, and here's a man who I have said repeatedly, you know, was not directly involved in 9/11, but had used weapons of mass destruction and had supported terror and had paid the families of suicide bombers and was a sworn enemy of the United States and had invaded 2 countries and had ignored, you know, I don't know, 17 or however many resolutions in the United Nations. He was a threat. And, but I did go to the United Nations, as you remember. Disclose, disarm, or face serious consequences is what 1441 said. And I firmly believe the choice was Saddam Hussein's to make. And he made a fateful choice. Then the interesting point was, after he was removed with a broad coalition of countries, what do we do? You know, do we pick a strong man and say, here's America's guy, and put him in there? Or do we work so that the Iraqi citizens would be able to pick their own, you know, form of government and their own people? And that's what we chose to do, and it's been really hard.
Was it worth it?
Absolutely. I believe a Middle East with Saddam Hussein in power today would be different, much different than the one today. I think you'd see a man with a lot of oil wealth, willing to use terrorist connections to try to compete, for example, with Hezbollah. It could conceivably be a nuclear arms race taking place, while even though Saddam Hussein did not have nuclear weapons, it is certain, at least to the experts, that he still had the capacity to make a nuclear weapons, and there'd be nothing more destabilizing for the Middle East than to see Iran trying to develop a nuclear weapon and Iraq trying to develop a nuclear weapon. So I think the Middle East is a much better place without Saddam Hussein in power, and the sacrifices by both the Iraqi people and the coalition forces to achieve where we are today.
But some say, sir, that the removal of Saddam Hussein has bolstered Iran and it makes it emerging as a regional superpower.
Yeah, I disagree completely with that. I think the emergence of a democratic and stable Iraq on Iran's border it will help more likely keep the peace vis-a-vis Iran in the Middle East. Secondly, what has changed with Iran is universal recognition about the dangers of Iran having the capacity to make a nuclear weapon. And therefore, one of the objectives of my administration is to create an international coalition, all saying the same thing, which is, you have defied the IAEA, therefore you cannot be trusted to say that you're only enriching for civilian nuclear power. Therefore, stop your process. Verifiably stop your enrichment process. Otherwise, there will continue to be international sanctions.
Sorry, my time is up. The Iranian, recently, your administration has been involved diplomatically with the Iranians. Do you think that actually you can bring them to the international fold by engaging them diplomatically?
We're trying to, we've offered them a way forward. It's verifiably suspend your enrichment, and we will be at the table with other nations. And so, well, we discussed Iraq with Iran in a regional context. But no, we have said if you want to have diplomatic relations and discussions with the United States, verifiably suspend your enrichment program. Our objective is to stop their gain of knowledge that would enable them to build a nuclear weapon, because having a nuclear weapon would be incredibly destabilizing to the region. And so there is a way forward for them to have diplomacy, but it's their choice. And thus far, they have not chosen to do it. And I regret that our relations are with Iran are this way, because I have great respect for the Iranian people and the Iranian history, and I know that they can have a better future with the rest of the world if their leadership were to abandon its desire to learn how to build a nuclear weapon.
I have a few questions about just Syria and Lebanon, but my time is over.
Well, thank you for you're a beautiful interviewer.
Thank you, sir. So can I go ahead?
Quickly, and I really do have to go.
Sure, absolutely. I wanted to talk about Syria. Basically, the U.S. attacked Syria. But do you see
The
this
U.S.
attacked Syrian recently? There was a target inside Syria that was attacked by the U.S. military.
Yes.
Allegedly. But do you see this kind of tension will secede soon, or do you see the U.S. diplomatically engage in Syria?
First of all, we discussed no operations. Secondly, we have engaged Syria early in my administration with Secretary Colin Powell and others. And our message was, if you'd like to have better relations with us, stop housing Hamas, violent Hamas. Stop destabilizing the democracy of Lebanon. Stop facilitating the flow of terrorists into Iraq. Be a constructive neighbor to countries, and we can have better relations. And they have thus far chosen to do that. Again, there's a way forward. But my worry about just sitting down with people in the hoping that they end up behaving differently is that oftentimes it reinforces behavior that is not in our interests. And so I believe in conditional diplomacy. Now, there's a lot of multilateral diplomacy going on out of this administration. But in this case, just like Iran, we will have diplomatic relations if you choose, but there's got to be behavioral change in order to justify it.
And can we stabilize Lebanon? Protect the democracy?
I've been trying to, successes has been to get 30,000 or so Syrian troops out of Lebanon. I think one of the real keys to peace in the Middle East is Lebanon. And Lebanon is a democracy. I met their president recently here in the Oval Office, which had a very good discussion. I've been very impressed by Prime Minister Sonora's courage and boldness. We want to help Lebanon have armed forces that are effective so that they can protect their people. And we have been working very hard for 7 years to free Lebanon as much as possible from foreign interference so that its democracy can grow and mature and be a stable contributor to the region.
How would you like the people in the Middle East to remember you?
I would hope they would remember me as George W. Bush, as a man who respects their religion, respects human rights and human dignity, and prays for peace.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stop all down.